fear is the number one thing that keeps people from doing what's necessary. And anger and rage, while it can mobilize us, if it becomes part of your life on a regular basis, it destroys it. So how do you balance that out? Well, fear, anger, they're both physical, aren't they? Think about, what do you feel like if you're really afraid? Ever been so afraid that your throat got really dry, you feel this feeling in your gut, right? That's physical. Courage is also physical. Again, courage does not mean you're not afraid. Courage means you're afraid, but you do it anyway, right? It's a way of being in your body. So one of the things that I started doing early on is understanding, and those of you who spent 4 days with me, you know, day and night, because we did it, and it's in your body still, how to change the way you feel instantly by a radical change in your body. And so I really want to recommend you do something at least 5 days a week. First thing when you wake up in the morning, it doesn't have to be an hour workout, even 30 minutes. It can be something as little as 5 or 10 minutes. There is not a day when I wake up, I've shared with some of you this already. First thing I do, I go outside, and if I'm lucky enough to be at one of my homes anyway, I have homes in different parts of the world because I've traveled the world and done this. So I'm very fortunate, but I have a cold plunge I've installed in everyone, 56 degrees. In my home in Sun Valley, Idaho, I don't have a cold plunge. I don't need it. I walk through the snow in the winter. In the summer, I walk through the grass, and I get in the river. And literally, the river is usually about 39 to 42 degrees, to give you an idea. Every cell in your body is moved. The blood rushes through everything, right? And I do it for 2 reasons. There's never a day I look forward to doing it. I don't go, I can't wait to go in there. I do it, number one, because it transforms your body. The blood flow, the lymph flow is unbelievable from a health perspective. You just go in for a minute, pop out, and it's like a different world, right? I don't care what it is. Or you could take a freezing shower. It would be the minimum way you could do this if you couldn't do this. But it's about changing your body so radically. And it's also about developing a simple daily discipline. It's like, I don't negotiate with myself. I tell my brain, I don't go, oh, wait, I'm not ready. Or let me count to 10, or maybe I'll do it tomorrow. That pattern of thinking is what destroys most people's lives and their dreams. You can settle for a life like most people have, or you can create your dreams, but to do it, you need to be able to push yourself. So you need to train yourself in little ways. One of the things you have to understand about life is everything changes and everything ends. And that kind of sounds heavy on the front end, but it's a truth. If everything changes and everything ends, number one, it should make you appreciate what you have right now. And then my view is what's next is always better. If I make it so, it's my job to make it so. And so I think, for me, I look at it and say, when you said genius is a young man's game, I think that's total bullshit. I think passion is the genesis of genius. If you've got enough passion, you're going to find answers nobody else does. But most people run out of fuel, meaning they get tired, they get exhausted, they get burnt out, they get, the law of familiarity. They're around something so much, they take it a little bit for granted. And I've managed to see something in myself that I found in every great leader that I've ever respected. And that is, I value intelligence immensely, but I know really smart people can't fight their way out of a paper bag pragmatically, right? I'm sure you do too. What I see as the one common denominator of people that are successful over a lifetime is the sustained hunger. Hunger is the number one factor.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button and follow my YouTube channel, because the next episode with Andrew Tate is about to come. See you soon, guys.
The secret to living is giving, because you're never going to be happy by what you get. You get it, you'll be excited for a while. For how long? But if you keep giving, you'll become something unique. That whether other people know it or not, you will know who you are. People can take away all your things. They can't take away who you become as a man or as a woman, as a soul. So business is a spiritual game. How can I do more for others than anybody else? How can I do it consistently? How can I do it better? How can I fall in love with my clients and just over-deliver at levels they can't even imagine? And develop this beautiful relationship of such joy. It isn't a transaction. There are transactions involved, but you're not doing it for the transaction. You're doing it to make that difference in their business or their life. When you're driven by a mission more than yourself, you get a level of energy that people just trying to take of themselves will never have. So my heartfelt wish for you, my dear friends, is remember what business is. It's a spiritual game. It's about what can you give, not what can you get. You'll get plenty if you'll give much more than you expect to receive. If you do that, you'll have more than money. You have a life of incredible meaning, and your life will be blessed. I made the decision, it's the most important decision I believe of your life, that I'm not going to suffer anymore. Life's too short to suffer, and I'm going to live in a beautiful state every day. And the way I do it is I catch myself when I start to get that sense of stress. I let it go, and I see the idea go by. One day I asked him, I said, what is the secret to wealth? And he looked at me, paused, this big smile, and his eyes got really bright like they always did. And he said, Tony, it's what you teach. I said, well, I teach a lot of things, which thing? And he said, gratitude. He said, because you and I, Tony, know billionaires that are miserable, and it's because they're not grateful for what they have. And we both know people have no money, seemingly, but they're so grateful for their health, for their husband, for their wife, for their children. They're so grateful to God. They're so grateful for their life that they're rich. So I think it starts with that gratitude. It starts with that connection to grace, as simplistic as that sounds. And so it's not enough just to have your financial plan. You can have all the money and be miserable. Let's have the money and be really rich emotionally, psychologically.
Just to entrepreneurs in general, and you're an entrepreneur, wildly successful entrepreneur, and you work with and are friends with many, many of the top entrepreneurs in the world. What are a few of the common attributes of the super successful entrepreneurs that you've seen? That might not be the obvious ones that come to mind.
Well, gosh, I'll give you one example because I was just talking to him yesterday. Mark Benioff's a dear friend of mine, and he runs a company called Salesforce.com. He founded it. Mark went to my Unleash the Power Within event about 15 years ago. He went to it 3 times. It's repetition is the mother skill. He immersed himself in it. Again, a pro, not going to do something average. Comes up to me and introduced himself and says, Tony, he said, you've changed my life. I'm working for Oracle. I'm leaving. I'm starting this company, Salesforce.com. We're going to change the business world. I'll never forget. He said, we're going to do $100 million in business. I was teasing the other night. He's going to do $7 billion this year, right? And I've been on that 15-year journey with him. What do they have in common? They have a sense of something they want to serve greater than themselves. The only challenge sometimes in network marketing, and I think what gives it a bad reputation for some people, is you get people in there that really act like they're doing it for something larger than themselves, but it really is only them. Now, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to profit and be successful, but motive does matter. And the most successful entrepreneurs have a motive that includes themselves, but they want to do something that's going to change the world, make the world different. It's like, when you're trying to meet your own needs, you get a certain level of insight. If you're trying to meet the needs of your family, you get a different level of insight because life supports whatever supports more of life, more people. If you're trying to support your community, different insight. If you're trying to have an impact on the world, it's even larger. And I found in network marketing, you find a few missionaries that are like those other entrepreneurs. That really is their mission. They'd honestly do it for free. And they want to make money, and they do make money. But if you're only doing it for the money, the unfortunate part is people sense that, and then they feel like it's just a transaction as opposed to an experience of added value. There's only one way on earth to really become wealthy, and that is do more for others than anybody else is doing. Just think of it this way. If you got the greatest computer in the world and you plug it in, there's not enough electricity, it's not going to work right. Well, tired is the first step to being depressed for most people. Yeah. And most people are tired not because they're working so hard. Like, oh man, I worked so hard today. What'd you do? Oh, I had meeting after meeting. I sat in these meetings, and I talked to people, or I make calls, or I sent emails, and they're like, I'm exhausted. Yeah. I mean, what's happened is we haven't pushed ourselves physiologically for so long that we've gotten weaker and weaker. And so we feel tired from doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And so what you learn when you go through a weekend like that is, holy shit, there is a level of energy on command that's available to me that you never believe. But by being in the environment over and over again, you learn it's real and you learn to use it. And when there's enough energy, everything else works better. Your relationship is not going to be great no matter what tools you have if you're tired. Because you're going to go, love you. There's no passion. There's no aliveness, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to grow your business when you're tired. So a huge part of what I teach, even in Unleash the Power Within, UPW, by the way, for people not vendors, called Unleash the Power Within. It's a weekend. And on the 4th day, it's all energy. It's all about the things you do with your health and vitality. So you sustain that, because without that, nothing else really matters. I grew up very poor, and I'm the oldest of 3. And I had to do all the shopping, all the grocery shopping on my bicycle, come home, make the meal. And I was happy with all that. But then right when you wanted to be done with your work and go watch sports or do something great, I had to wash the dishes. So I swore someday I will never do the labor of washing dishes. I will afford a dishwasher. I will find some way to not have to do dishes. I tell you this as a background because when I told him I couldn't be a furniture mover, he looks down and goes, oh, only one other job left, dishwashing. Now, dishwashing in India is a different labor than you might picture in your kitchen. And you're in this ashram, and I report, and there's these milk solids and yogurts on the floor, and you're standing in your bare feet, and you're taking these filthy dishes coming across, and it's 4 hours a day for 6 or 7 days. I'm telling you, I was so angry. I was so mad. I was mad at myself that I was there. I was mad and I was washing these dishes and upset. And plus, I was a vegan, and I didn't like the fact there was milk on the floor. I was judgmental about everything. In the middle of all this stuff, after about an hour of being angry, I got tired of being angry, and some part of me kicked in and goes, "Dan, whatever you do, you're the best at it. Why don't you be the best damn dishwasher?" So I started washing these dishes with a frenzy. I'm like, "Come on, guys, speed this thing up." And something magical happened. The thing that I thought was most disgusting and filled with labor and work became play. And I started to laugh at myself. And I thought, what an ego jerk you are to think that you're below washing some dishes. And then I got beyond my ego and jerk into, why not just enjoy whatever you do, and then when you do, all of a sudden it's not work anymore. And that was my great spiritual breakthrough. I eventually did meet with his guru and try to straighten him out, but he didn't think very much of an 18-year-old kid straighten him out. He laughed quite a bit. He did talk to my partners and said, "I think you guys should just keep teaching what you're teaching." And Fit for Life went on to be one of the most successful books in history. But I can't claim credit for that. I was a part of that little piece. But I will tell you that if you can if you can get yourself to love to do the stuff you hate to do, then there's no limit to the success you can have in your life. If you can take the things that you're afraid you'd have to do to succeed in your business or to succeed in your life or to succeed in your relationship, there are things everybody doesn't want to do. And the more focused you are on how you're not going to do that, the more life seems to bring those things up for you and makes them barriers. I made the decision, it's the most important decision I believe of your life, that I'm not going to suffer anymore. Life's too short to suffer, and I'm going to live in a beautiful state every day. And the way I do it is I catch myself when I start to get that sense of stress. I let it go, and I see the idea go by. So your thoughts about this person messing up your business or not following through. If I was in a room with 10,000 people, I guarantee you 60, 70% of the business owners have the same thoughts at times, right? I ask people all the time, tell me your most stressful thought. "Oh, I'm worried about my children. This may happen." How many people have had that thought? Everybody. I might not make it financially well, but how many have had that? Everybody. My point is, it's not your thought. It's the mind, not your mind. When you think it's your mind, you identify with it, and you can't separate from yourself.
Right.
But when you realize these thoughts have been around for millions of years, and I'm just thinking the same thought that so many people have thought before. Like, how many people have ever thought, "I'm going to kill this son of a bitch"? Now, you didn't do it because you didn't believe you're really going to kill them. But you felt it. You said it. You were there, right? So we all have thoughts. It's only the stressful thoughts we believe that mess us up. So what I try to show people is, if you can start to realize these thoughts have been around for millions of years. If I told you 1,000,000 years, 1,000, 100 years ago that we're going to go to the moon and back, you called me a lunatic or crazy. If I said 100 years ago, you're going to have a little box like this, it'll fit in your pocket, and you can click on it and you can see what the weather is any place. You can click on it and see a live person on the other side of the earth and talk to them by looking in this box. And the way it works is invisible waves are traveling around the earth, and it pulls invisible waves in the box. You go read between the lines. There's no way, you dumb idiot. It's never going to happen. So what I want you to realize is thoughts are invisible waves. When you turn on a TV, it takes invisible waves, and depending on the channel, you're going to see a love story or an adventure or a drama or a comedy or a horror. The way you use your body determines which of those thought waves come through you. And that's why you're successful. All successful people tend to focus on the future. All people that are overwhelmed tend to focus on the past because you can't change it. But so you say, the past is past, so let it go, right? Yeah. So imagine, just for a second, somebody's home, they're a strong, smart person, but they're not feeling strong and smart because they've been sedentary. They're not using their body. And when you don't use your body, you don't have that kind of energy. I don't care who you are, right? You're constantly hearing fear coming at you from all the news that's around there. And so people tend to focus on what's missing, what they can't control, and they think about the past and will the future ever be like that? But none of these patterns are going to help you. But you can change all three. You can train yourselves to focus on what you're grateful for, what you have, and you can always build on success. That's what creates momentum. You can train yourself to be able to say, okay, if that was missing, that's no problem with it. Here's how I'm going to go after it. Here's how I can find the answer if I don't have the answer. And you can train yourself to enjoy this moment while you're building your future. So those three decisions alone, I could give you a dozen. But I'll give you an example. I ask people sometimes in seminars, and I've got 15,000, 30,000 people in a stadium, and I'll say, how many of you know someone who takes antidepressants and they're still depressed. And 90% of the people raise their hand all over the world. And so how could you take antidepressants and still be depressed? Well, because all they do is numb you. In fact, on the side of the box, it says can create suicidal thoughts. So numbing you doesn't deal with the problem. As long as you're constantly focusing on what you don't have or is missing, as long as you're focused on what you can't control, you're going to find yourself not having what you want. So it's not that difficult, but what people need is they need to shake it up.